Welcome to Hashtag Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, thank you for joining Hashtag Sports tonight as we try to cover the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. A nail-biter, 42-16. The Buffalo Bills dropped their first game of the year to the Tennessee Titans in a game that, Paul, if we went live for about 3 hours tonight, we still wouldn't get through the amount of chaos and mayhem that we witnessed tonight on the Tuesday night edition of football. I got to tell you, Nation, you guys got to keep me afloat tonight, man. This is not going to be an easy one for any of us to get through, but it's one of those things that we have to get through. We got to try to talk about this team, see where this team is headed. They are 4-1. They did experience their first loss in the conference, but they're still 2-0 in their division and 4-1 overall. So, and they have a very tough test coming up. We'll cover all of those things, but like I said at the onset, the Buffalo Bills fall to the Tennessee Titans 42-16. I want to first give a positive note for all of the hashtag heroes. Thank you once again for your contributions this month for the Punt Foundation. We can't thank you enough. That's the one positive I can bring out of this evening, is that you guys are very devoted and dedicated to Hashtag Sports and the Punt Foundation. So thank you for that. If you're new here, please go down and make that red subscribe button gray and join the nation if you want. But Paul, I mean, a lot of things to talk about tonight. I'm not really sure where to start, unless you want to tee off on somebody or something. But the chat is booming. We got we got Apex, blah blah blah, Noisy, Spin, John, McCall, and Marlowe. We got 585 Army. I'm sure Maz was in here a little bit earlier. Paul Berg's in here. So all you guys are so dedicated. I love it. But Paul, talk to me, please. Talk to me about this game.
Great comment from Duda Kubio, yada yada jop. That is, I think, how you pronounce that. 21 points off of turnovers.
Yes. That's because
can I win with them? Can I coach with them? Can't do it.
I want win because they outgained. When you look at the statistical breakdown, Buffalo Bills having 23 first downs, going 76% on third down. Usually those games, when you have those statistics, though, you don't lose those games. Buffalo Bills outgaining the Tennessee Titans 370 to 344, but like I said, those 3 turnovers, and they did win the time of possession battle. We will definitely get into the second. Daniel Garvey's. Yeah, Maz is here. Maz, thanks for sticking around, Maz. But
I want to before we do anything further, I want to point out that the score is what the score is, right? But there's a couple drives that I think are critical to get out of the way right away. That's one. They scored a touchdown in the first quarter. It took them 44 seconds. They only had to go 16 yards. That's number one. Their second touchdown, they only had to go 30 yards for, right? So now we're at 46 yards and 14 points.
Very true.
You can't win like that, right? Unfortunately, that wasn't the only that it didn't stop there, right? Like, and then the fourth quarter happened and they had another one for 18. Like, you can't win like that.
6 touchdowns.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
It was put in the chat. Apex 6 touchdowns, given up 6.
Do you think
a depleted Tennessee offense scored 6 touchdowns tonight?
Do you think no John Brown made a difference, or do you think this is just the offense we were going to get today? Because I will be honest with you, I am beyond frustrated with the way that Allen, he didn't check out of a single play tonight, and I'm very frustrated with the game plan. Like, I'm sitting at home on my couch screaming, at my television, and you send me a text message in the third quarter, which was exactly what I was thinking. And Mar, would you like to share with the folks what that text message was?
This is a PG show. I would love to share what I texted you, Paul. I got a little confused about coming out in the second half that it took the offense. I'm not going to name his name. Took the offense and whoever was calling the plays 20 minutes. Took them 20 minutes to realize that Tennessee was only rushing 3 or 4 and dropping 7 and 8 in coverage. 20 minutes. Not only did he not realize it, He ran a screen when they're dropping 7. Paul, why is the number one reason you run screens?
Great blitz beaters, man. Great blitz beaters.
So
You don't run screens when they're not blitzing.
Yeah, it took a
bad idea.
20 minutes. I don't understand, because basically in the second half, all those underneath routes to Beasley, which was nice. I know a lot of people were saying, listen, let's get Beasley involved. Let's get Beasley involved in the offense. The Titans were conceding those because they know they had the clock on their side at that point. Yep. So the Tennessee Titans were completely willing to let those underneath routes go. And Allen, the pick that he threw was an ugly pick, but he was trying to force something. He was trying to play hero ball. Now, Paul, I ask you this question. Does that go on the OC or the quarterback coach? Him trying to force something deep. Because what happened was they were dumping underneath. Then they took away the underneath routes. They took away the route at the sticks. Mm-hmm. And then Allen had to go second level, and he tried to force something. So who do you put that? Do you put that on? There's 3 people to put it on. You can put it on Dable, Dorsey, or Allen. Who do you put it on?
Well, Buffalo Mafia News says Dable's got a job next year, and it's in Buffalo. I mean, it's games like this that, organizations look at and say, okay, like you couldn't manage your way through this one, right? That was not a very good Tennessee passing attack, right? They were grabbing guys that just happened to be healthy and throwing them in at the wide receiver position. Like they were really, really beat. And I saw Steve Lynn had put in here, where was it? Something about the Titans zone. Yeah, here it is. Titans zone showed the league how to slow down the offense. These are the games you need to be concerned with, right? These are the games that everybody looks at and they said, okay, what did the Titans do to stop this offense? And they realized that, hey, if we can just make the run relatively ineffective, right? Let's just make the run relatively ineffective. That was a great opportunity to have Allen sit there in the pocket, try and create a little bit of time that he didn't need. And they were dropping 8 into coverage. I mean, they're dropping 7 into coverage. They're getting home with 4. They were shutting down the run with 4 guys on the defensive line. Like that's impressive. It's impressive.
The chat on the screen isn't moving, he's saying. So the chat on the screen is not moving.
Oh.
So I may have to refresh the browser here.
All right. That's no biggie.
And I will do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
There we go.
All right, we'll fix that.
So hopefully, yeah. Thanks for the catch, Noisy. Appreciate you. It's supposed to refresh itself. If it doesn't do that, that's fine. We got you guys.
Mart, let me ask you this. Is this a team that can sustain 30 points a game, right? Because here's the deal. This defense has let us down for a while now, right? Yep. I think the defense says a lot here. I do. I mean, what, you're going to get mad at me over that? Like, really?
No, I'm going to get mad at you about it. No. I'm not going to get mad at you about that. And Apex comes in, he says, listen, stop beating up the offense. The defense is the problem. And believe me, we'll get there. It's tough because you were missing John Brown on the offense. Quentin Spain, maybe you could talk about his presence on this offensive line. I'm not sure. I thought Allen had forever to throw back there and nobody to throw to. You can credit the Tennessee Titans for game planning on that.
Yep.
But if you want to look at it as a whole, missing Milano and White on that defense, and you got a banged up Tremaine Edmonds. I don't care what he says. I don't care if he's out there.
He's not healthy.
He
doesn't look good.
That dude
he does not look good.
If he's 50%, it's lucky. He's lucky.
He does
if he's
not
50%.
look good.
He does not look good.
Yeah.
And with that type of thing, I was worried, and I even called you, Paul, before the game, and I said, listen, I got a bad feeling about tonight. I mean, and you gave me your customary line. You don't have to read tea leaves to see the writing on the wall. This has been a very weird week in the NFL. Yeah. You want to talk about the Browns going 4-1, the Dolphins dismantling the 49ers, and Dak Prescott and everything else that's going on. A lot of things that were going on this weekend in the NFL were kind of bizarre. I mean, the Raiders beating the Chiefs. I mean, everything seemed to be pointing up. The Bills had everything to lose in this game. Plus, and then Paul, to his credit, talks to me on the phone. He says, listen, this Tennessee team has had 2 weeks, barring these video conferences, which I don't know why the announcers were so obsessed about the video conferences and the Zoom calls that were so amazing. But, they had 2 weeks to prepare for one team, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills did not know, and Paul pointed this out to me, the Buffalo Bills still did not know if they were going to be playing the Titans or the Chiefs. So they're preparing for two teams. Now, I'm not making excuses, but that does happen. That had to have an effect on this team at some point. That did have to have an effect on this team. I thought the team came out flat and not focused, undisciplined. There were a lot of things going on. You guys jinxed us. Sorry, Donnybrook. If Jerry Hughes goes inside on a run where he's supposed to set the edge one more time, I'm going to lose my mind.
I know Jerry looked terrible today, and it's been weeks of this, right? It's not just even this year, even last year. Jerry is playing a little cavalier for my taste, right? He's playing a little cavalier for my taste. I'm not digging it.
Yeah, and that touchdown at the end, I tweeted it out earlier. Wow, a Bills-Titans game where a guy's questionably over the line.
Stop me if you've heard this before.
Stop me if you heard this one before. The Buffalo Bills were penalized 10 times for 56 yards, and as Paul said in the onset, 21 points off of 3 turnovers. I wish this game you could point at and say, listen, okay, they turned the ball over 3 times. They just fixed their turnovers. They're fine. No,
it's not about that.
That's not
about that.
Drops too. Drops were bad. The drops were bad.
Diggs walked away with 16 targets today, and I could think of 5 of them that were trouble from the moment that Allen took a step, right? And he came down with some of them. Like, don't get me wrong, right? But it was clear as day to me that this offense was pressing from the go, and it was right away. They were down right away, and that's not what they pressed real fast, and they didn't figure out what Tennessee was doing until the second half. And listen, you cannot win a football game down 18 points, taking 6-minute drives.
No, you can't.
In the fourth quarter. You can't.
But that's the defense that was in front of them. That was the defense that was in front of them.
Right, I understand that, but that was there the whole game. Nothing was different. They didn't play the Bills any different in the fourth quarter than they did in the first and the second quarter.
Well, they dialed up a few pressures every once in a while, odd man pressures and stunts on that line in the first half. And for whatever reason, I mean, the script was fine by the Bills. After they got off the script,
Mark, look at this. Look at the secondary that the Bills had to roll out there today. You're talking about Cam Lewis and Josh Norman, neither of whom were playing weeks 1 through 3, right? But you're going up against guys who were practice squad wide receivers. Like this was worst case scenario for your secondary.
Yeah, it was.
It was worst case scenario.
I got a question. If Norman mastered the peanut punch to force turnovers, what would you call happened to him by Derrick Henry?
Oh my God.
I mean, Derrick, if you ever watch this, you probably won't. Norman's got a family, bro. Like, that dude went horizontal.
That was bad. I saw a tweet out there, and it was Derrick Henry, and they had it labeled as COVID, and Josh Norman was labeled as CDC guidelines. It's pretty hysterical.
Buffalo Bills blitz 50% of Tannehill's dropbacks. Why? You trying to protect your corners? When you blitz, you have to play man behind it.
Well, no, I mean, don't you think they're selling out to stop? They're trying to stop Henry in the backfield because let's be real, right? As soon as Henry starts getting 2-3 yards of steam, he's tough to bring down. Are you trying to stop Henry in the backfield?
I can understand dialing up run blitzes versus pass blitzes. I understand that because there's a difference there. However, I was losing my mind. I was like, if they were you're blitzing, which causes you to play man behind it with Cam Lewis and Josh Norman. Mm-hmm. That's not a winnable situation. And they moved A.J. Brown around to get him lined up on a couple other guys. Then they started to get Jonnu Smith moving around a bunch of guys. I mean, I knew Marlowe was going to come in the game eventually, but he came in the game when it was 21-10. Like, he played very sparingly in the first,
Truth be told, Norman was rough today. Teron Johnson was rough today. The secondary as a whole was rough. I got to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't see, and I'm just looking at the stats. Poyer walked away as the Bills' leading tackler, right? 8 total tackles.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of them.
No,
I don't remember a single one.
But here's what I'm saying. I heard this throughout the halftime show, and I'm hearing it, and I'm seeing it, and I can't really remember who it was specifically, but everyone was talking about, I heard various items of, put Jerry on the bench, move Oliver to end. One guy I've been very, very quiet on, Paul, and you know this, and the nation knows this. How much do you miss Star Lotulelei in the middle of that defense right now?
I don't know.
You don't think he makes that big of a difference? Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's your opinion.
Well,
I think he makes a little bit more of an impact, but I do love Butler and Jefferson in there. I understand that.
I mean, with the rotation, I mean, I think Star's offset by Butler and Jefferson. I really do. Like, I will be honest with you. I saw Ed Oliver get punched off the ball a few times today.
Yeah.
Like at the line.
Yeah.
Harrison bothers me.
Harrison was kind of absent today. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't really. I mean, you held Henry. If I'm going through the statistics here, Henry went 19 carries for 57 yards.
That's a great day. That's a great day.
But 2 touchdowns because they had short fields. I understand that.
Right, but that's exactly it, right? It's from a field position battle. The Bills did not win field position today, and this is a team that you have to win field position against.
The Bills
just slowly work the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Right. That's
yeah.
But you can't give them good field position.
No.
Right.
No,
exactly.
You can't do that. And Daniel Gar says I miss Star. Spin says Jordan Phillips used to blow up plays last year for that. I mean,
That's
Phillips,
true.
He was a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a mandinga in the middle.
That's true.
So Lawson,
well, Johnny said we're missing Lawson. I'm not thinking that Shaq Lawson was somebody that we're really missing. But I will be honest with you, Hughes and Murphy today. Murphy was getting pushed off the edge. Like there was just no contain at all.
No.
And that was another thing, right? So this is what was getting me a little bit. So the Bills really lack contain. And what that did was it forced the linebackers to have to take really, really terrible angles to try and get Henry, which just doesn't work, right? But not only that, what ended up happening was later in the game, there was nobody there to try and take Tannehill. Tannehill ran all over you in the fourth quarter, right? That defense was just
I'm not surprised at
gassed.
Tannehill running because you knew they were going to try to get him out on the edge at some point. And when they got him on the edge, he either had a guy to dump it off to or he had open field. And that's what happens when you blitz and play man behind it. And that's the tough thing that happens on that defense. So I mean, I don't think my point for bringing that up as far as Star goes and Oliver moving and benching, I don't really agree with that. I don't think that the Bills have to do something so dramatic as that, as move guys around like that. I just think they need to just simplify what they're doing right now. They just need to simplify
defense,
offense.
On defense.
I think they need to simplify what they're doing because I think they're trying to do too much in certain scenarios. I mean, did you hear about Hyde at all today? I mean,
No.
Did you hear his name at all?
No.
And don't worry, I don't know if Paul Berg is in here.
Yes.
Don't worry, we'll get to Mr. Dawkins at some point tonight. Apex, I mean, amen. They need to do something. They need to try to simplify what they're doing on this defense. I heard some people put in the chat, McD needs to take over. I don't know if that's something that it's kind of tough. It's like having two parents, but like one always usurps the other one. You know what I mean? Are you actually going to listen to the first one at all ever again? So if McDermott usurps Frazier, are the players ever going to listen to Frazier again? You know what I mean? I don't know that. I don't know what's going on at One Bills Drive, but this defense is not at the level that we thought it was going to be at the start of the season. And I don't know how you can go into a game with a game plan to throw as much as you did against the 31st ranked rush defense. Can you explain that to me at all? Missing their top interior defensive tackle due to C19. You don't run the ball at all? Now, is Singletary hurt? Did he get hurt during the game? Because we saw a lot of TJ Yeldon today. We
did see a lot of TJ Yeldon, but that was because of the pass sets. They think Yeldon, and I mean, if we're gonna call it what it is, Yeldon is a more proficient pass catcher he's a bigger target. First off, by like 6 inches bigger target than Devin Singletary. But Yeldon walked away with 7 carries, 52 yards, longest of 34. Singletary 11 carries for 25 yards, and they were
really bottled him up.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
the run blocking
that's what
was not good.
Right, but unfortunately, Mark, when you take a look at it, they were rushing 4 a lot of times. So even if
they were controlling the gaps really well.
Exactly, the linebackers were just sitting there, right? So the gap control was terrible, and that to me speaks that the Bills weren't creative enough to push the ball downfield in different ways that weren't completely predictable, right? And you saw a lot of Yeldon because the Bills were down for most of this game. You're going to see more Yeldon in pass sets. That's going to be what happens.
I believe so too. And well, it depends on when Moss comes back. I'm not sure how they're going to work that rotation. But Breaking Tables Bills Talk comes in. Thank you very much for your donation. He said, let's be honest, the offense has to be perfect this season for a win. That lays on McDermott and Frazier. No energy at all tonight from the entire team. Shake my head. I didn't see any fire when they started to get down. But I didn't see any finger pointing or anything. It just seemed flat. It just seemed really flat. Now, is this the game that every championship team needs to wake them up? Like, is this waking a sleeping giant? Because I didn't think the Bills were going 16-0 at all. But, and if I see a 9-7 in that chat, I'm burning something down tonight. I swear to God, if I see it. But I did have them losing to Tennessee, but not this bad. I really didn't. I didn't see them losing this bad. My Yeldon jersey. I do not have a Yeldon jersey. My 22 is Jackson, okay? I think everyone is Jackson.
I think this is the type of game that you're a little fearful of because the Bills were so manhandled, right?
I know it was coming. Wait, look for it.
What?
And the 3, 9, and 7s pop up as soon as I say that.
Oh, there we go.
Nobody listens to me ever. No,
yeah, there we go. But this is the type of game that when you talk about championship caliber football teams, yeah, they drop football games, but this is one that teams bookmark and say we should probably do what they did. That's it,
Vrabel,
right?
Did Flores give him the blueprint in the second half of the Miami game? Do you think Flores gave him a blueprint? Legitimate question. Legitimate question. You know that Patriots tree runs deep. And that being said, if the student of Belichick is able to devise a defense to go up against Josh Allen to slow him down to 16 points.
I don't know if it's that deep, Mark.
What happens when Belichick faces him?
I don't know if it's that deep. I'm
just throwing ideas out, Paul. You know I do this all the time to you, and you have to shake your head at me. But now we're actually live. You can't censor me.
I get it, right? I get where you're coming from. Here's where I am, right? First off, I think you need to get Feliciano and Spain back as quickly as possible. I think that's step one, right? Your run game has been, has really been tough. Everything that Singletary has done so far this season that we were really excited about, a lot of it was Singletary made the action happen, right? It wasn't because there were these wide gaps that he was running through, that he was able to make opportunities for himself, and there were none tonight. It wasn't in the cards. It wasn't going to happen. But you can't rely on the athleticism and the playmaking ability of your running back as the sole reason that they're productive. The Bills kind of been leaning on that the last 3 games in the running game. So I'm really tired of the hokey pokey along the offensive line. Get Feliciano back as quickly as you can. Get Spain back as quickly as you can. Get your line right and start mowing over people like you should be. And they haven't been able to do that. And the offensive line is such a problem right now. And conversely, the defensive line, we have this great defensive line rotation. We have no ends that I trust right now. I don't trust Murphy because he's not really going to get to the quarterback. Jerry's all over the damn place. Epineza jumped on 3rd and 7 and made me want to punch my television, right? Like, we don't really have those dynamic playmaking ends, and we knew that coming into the season. Like, we knew that.
Yeah. You had the guys that you could set your watch to, but not guys that they're gonna blow off. And the guy that is one of the most exciting ends that you do have can't maintain discipline on the edge, which is
right. And that's why a lot of people who saw Clowney today, like Clowney was in the backfield all day.
Yeah. But he still had a long time to throw on some of them plays, Paul.
Sure.
He did have a long time. He's in anyway. Honestly, if you'd have came up to me, this is why I feel, it's like one of those punch drunk boxers that's just completely out of it, and you're sitting there going, where is he? I could take him. I know where he is. I can get him. You're telling me that if you came into this game and said, okay, Derrick Henry's going to rush for 57 yards and Tannehill's going to throw for under 200, but Tennessee's going to score 42 points, I would have wondered where I was going to take you for drug testing. Okay, special teams? No special teams touchdowns. What? Okay. All right. What oh, the Buffalo Bills had 3 turnovers inside of their own 30, which forced that. That's why the short field comes into play. But
let me ask. We got a couple. We got a
Yep,
couple people
gotcha.
saying in the chat. I see Ricardo just mentioned it, and who else just said it? I'll find it real quick. Saying moving Oliver to Matthew Smith said it as well. Moving Oliver to DE, moving Oliver to end. Does that fix any of your problems? I think discipline in this defense on end is pretty important. I don't think Oliver's seasoned enough to really understand.
You're telling me that a guy
defensive
that
end
hasn't
roles.
played end, will have more discipline than a guy that does play end.
That's what I mean. You know what? He's a
saying,
playmaker, but in
we've talked about
one-on-one,
it
give me
before.
Oliver one-on-one. I'll take Oliver one-on-one, but I don't know if I'm willing to trust Oliver with the role in Frazier / McDermott defense where
That's
the
the
ends
thing.
aren't necessarily there for pass rush purposes all the time.
They're there to let others shine, basically. They're there
Right.
to funnel everything inside to your linebackers who are not playing. AJ Klein.
I know.
AJ Klein.
Yeah, Terrell Dodson today too. Terrell Dodson
Yeah,
looked
but
fine.
that's what the defensive ends are supposed to do. They're supposed to funnel everything inside and generate pressure on pass rushes when they're only rushing 4. I understand that. The defensive tackles, the majority of them, are just supposed to push the pocket into the face of the quarterback to try to generate pressure. They're not we're going to come hunt you down kind of defense. That's not how they're built. They're saying, okay, let's just going to keep everything in front of us. We're going to punch the ball out. We're going to try to do this and that. But I don't think something drastic like putting Oliver to end. Now, I only think that way because I think it's at the point of no return, Paul, because we talked in the offseason about possibly moving Oliver to end because he was so light last year. But he put on some more bulk to try to stay inside. He's getting shoved around. Is it possible? Now, I'm just asking this, and if I get torched, I get torched. I don't care. We'll get to Bell, but don't worry about it. If I get torched for this, I'm fine with it. Do you think that the Buffalo Bills offensively tonight need to make some drastic changes? Or if you take away the special teams turnover and the 2 picks, do you think it's a different game? Because if the Buffalo Bills on their initial script, go down and score 7, is it a different game?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
I
remember
Yeah.
I remember getting pulled on this one where I said that I felt like Tannehill was a more dangerous quarterback to go up against. Remember we had this conversation?
Because he can move his feet.
Right.
Yeah, we had this conversation. We definitely had.
Yeah.
And I got torched for it. I didn't say Tannehill was better than Allen. I just said Tannehill because of the quarterbacks you played. You played Goff, Fitzpatrick, Carr, and Darnold.
That's right.
It wasn't. It was like as far as offensively goes. I think you need to get your guys healthy and get them back, and I think that will correct what's wrong. Because if you put John Brown in this lineup, I think the defense plays a little bit differently. I think that
they weren't worried about Andre Roberts.
No,
let's
they
just
weren't.
be real. They were not concerned about Andre Roberts. They were not concerned about Isaiah McKenzie. They did not care.
No, they did not.
They didn't
And that, all of that intertwined, I don't know how you can play the 31st, like I said, 31st ranked run defense and not try to run the ball inside, unless that's they were just selling out to. And then when they finally got a lead, that's the one thing you couldn't let Tennessee get. The Tennessee could not get a lead. Once they got a lead, they were rushing 4, rushing 3. Allen had all day to throw, but nobody to throw to because you didn't have any John Brown pushing. They were cluttering up the middle a little bit. And it was tough for Allen. This was a learning experience for him, and hopefully he learned from this.
It's Steve Lynn brings it up again. Making Allen work for TD creates more mistakes, and he's 100% right. And he made another comment earlier talking about zone coverage. Allen is really struggling against high zone concept reads. He's not picking it up well right now, and maybe that's the receivers. We talk about this offense being hyper complicated, right? Perhaps tonight, because you're looking at, you had to play McKenzie, you had to play Roberts because Brown wasn't there. Beasley was a ghost in the first half, right? And then showed up in the second half because they finally started doing stuff underneath. There's a lot of wide receivers are very responsible for adjusting routes in this offense. Is it because you had Roberts and you had McKenzie out there? Was the offense stalled because they don't make the same reads as John Brown? Are the wide receivers not interchangeable in this offense because it's so predicated on wide receiver adjustment post-snap?
I mean, and it goes back to the reps too, because you figure that during a given week, John Brown's getting more reps than Andre Roberts anyway. Andre Roberts is just sitting back there catching punts. That's all he's really doing, catching kickoffs or whatever. So, it's very. But I mean, like back to my original point, I don't think this offense has to do anything really drastic. Now, having said that, Paul, I'm not excusing the game plan that they came in with. I'm not excusing that. And they failed adjustments for yet another donut in the third quarter. I mean, you come out in the third quarter and you let Tennessee drive the whole length of the field on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, really? That's what we're going here. So, we used to say that offenses and defenses sometimes play off of each other. You know, like if you're playing for Green Bay, you got to have a defense that just doesn't get dragged up and down the field. Aaron Rodgers is going to get you points. Don't worry about it. Other teams, I'm going to reference them because it's the first one that came to mind. Trent Dilfer in the 2000 Ravens. Okay.
Oh God, are we past this yet?
I just needed another end of the spectrum. I just need another end of the spectrum. Now, Dilfer was never asked to win a game. He just said, don't lose it. You know what I mean? Defense will take care of what they need to take care of. Just don't lose the game. The 1998 Minnesota Vikings were outscoring everybody. They just said to the defense, just don't get dragged up and down the field. We'll score. We'll outscore everybody. Well, that didn't work. Do you think that this is a team at 4-1 that's separate from its defense, where they can outscore their defense, where they can have a bend but don't break defense? Because for years we've seen Bills teams that the defense had to keep them in it. Like you'd rather see the defense on the field than the offense sometimes to hold games. You know, hey, we're up 17-13. The D's got to hold it here, and they used to sometimes. But I just don't know what the difference is when you have so many players that are coming back in this defense and have the knowledge of this defense. Milano's hurt. Edmonds is banged up. You got two starting corners today that were, I mean, one was on the practice squad, one was on the shelf, a 32-year-old on the shelf for weeks. You know what I mean? It was the perfect storm to get beat, unfortunately. And you can have two schools of thought. You can overreact to this loss, like a lot of people might, and it's fine. You can do that. Or you could say, listen, there were so many things working against, but the Titans are missing players too. So how do you excuse that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Titans were missing a fair amount of players, and don't get me wrong, Tannehill didn't throw for a ton of yardage, 195.
Nope.
But 3 touchdowns, no sacks, right? No interceptions, and they didn't have to drive the field to score. You know, they scored 21 points off of sub 30 yards, on 3 different occasions. And that's just you can't lose the field position battle. Like we talk about all the time. And if you just look at the Bills box score, right? If you look at their team stats, overall, doesn't look all that bad, right? They were 13 for 17 on third downs. I mean, that number of third down attempts is scary, but 13 for 17 is a good number. 370 yards in total yards, right? Like they're not bad, right? Not bad. They had the ball 32 minutes. Right, there's earmarkers here that this should be a good game, and then you look at the score, you're like, oh my God, the Bills only scored 16 points, and they had the ball for 32 minutes. But 3 turnovers will do that, right?
And it's like weird that you
and they're bad turnovers.
Oh yeah,
they're bad turnovers.
I think Big Spence put it in the chat earlier, or Noisy Boy. I can't remember. One of you. I could be wrong. I don't even know. Allen really has only thrown 1 pick this year, if you want to think about it. I mean, the Hail Mary that he threw in the other game, okay. The one went off of Robert's hands. I mean, I don't know how you put that on the quarterback. But the one today that he threw was just really bad, where he tried to go second level. I just don't understand. Trying to make a play when there isn't one. Just that goes to patience and inexperience of Allen. That's the patience and inexperience of Allen.
There was this stare down on the second Malcolm Butler interception was really bad. Like, it was just straight stare down. Mm-hmm. That's stuff that you got to get off of. You know, like you have to get off of that. I saw somebody put in, Jay Bowling said, so is Brandon being a bust? Like, should we still trust him? Yeah, of course you still trust him. You still have to trust the process. That's the way that it is.
Yeah,
There's some definite things at the beginning of the season that you could look at from the outside and say, I'm not really feeling this. Like, you look at the linebacker depth and you're like, okay, well, if Milano or Edmonds get hurt, we're kind of probably in trouble at that position, and look where we are. And then you look at cornerback and you're like, well, it's still literally exactly the same that we had last year, but we're going to add Josh Norman. That's great. But now, okay, well, now we're testing the cornerback depth a little bit. And then you look at the tight end depth and you're like, well, we're going to roll with, again, exactly what we had last season. And now, you're looking at Knox going, well, the weapon is there, but he's, like, how often are you really utilizing him? Can you really trust him? So there's some things that you kind of knew coming into the beginning of the season. I did expect the defensive line to play better, but again, defensive end is another position. I expected a lot. Let me rephrase. I think you were expecting a lot out of Mario Addison to turn this defensive end group into getting, 6, 7, 8 sacks each. That was asking a lot solely of Mario Addison. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And admittedly, Addison's probably been your best pass rusher the last 3 to 4 weeks. But that's not saying much.
Yeah, true. I mean,
not saying much.
But here's the thing about that question that you even talked about was the fact that it's the process, Brandon being a bust. I mean, prior to tonight's game at 6:00, were you even thinking that? No, you thought that the things that he did were very positive for this team. He was able to, who he's drafted, who he's brought in free agency. Now, there's two schools of thought. Everyone keeps talking about Le'Veon Bell in the chat. Can they afford him? What would Le'Veon Bell do in this? There's two schools of thought. There's one, they drafted Moss. They want to develop him, and they drafted Singletary last year. They want to develop him. They want to go with the two-headed monster. But the other school of thought is you did those things because you didn't think Bell would be available. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not about kicking the tires on Bell. I'm more terrified that Bell will go to the Patriots, as it was mentioned in the chat, and then bring Brown out of retirement. Can you imagine that? Walking dumpster. That would be like the 2000. What year was that? The 2008 Florida Gators that we were talking about. The 2008 Florida Gators that had Tebow and Cam Newton and everybody on it. Mm-hmm. So you want, but I thought it was a shocking move. I can't wait to go over to Ryan's channel and watch what he's talking about with the releasing of Le'Veon Bell. But I don't think that fixes any of your problems right now. I don't think Bell does. I think you need some linebacker depth. We are going to be releasing an episode talking about possible free agents the Buffalo Bills could bring in.
Yeah, it's a big one now, right?
To circumvent what's been going on this defense. But Paul Berg, I'm going to frame that quote. I'm going to frame that quote. I'm framing it now. I mean, that's, you know what, Paul, you haven't heard me say anything about it. I'm talking Paul Berg. I'm just saying, you haven't heard me say anything about it because I knew what the guy brought to the table about eating bodies in the middle, and there's just not that guy in there right now. There's guys that are trying to shoot gaps and getting pushed off the play, and guards are going second level on Edmonds, and Edmonds is not getting off of them, and now they're going third level, and then Poyer leads the game in tackles. That's what happened. So, can Bell play linebacker? I'm sure he could. He's a pretty big dude. But I just don't. My goal of tonight, Paul, for you and the hashtag nation. Well, not so much you, hashtag nation, because you talk me off so many ledges. It's crazy. I don't want everybody to hit the panic button. This team is still 4-1. They're 2-0 in the division. They have an offense that you didn't think they were going to have at the start of the season that could just generate, drives and score points. And they didn't do that tonight. I understand that. They're going up against a very tough Kansas. It's hard to get the 17-year streak out of your head, but that's the one thing you got to do. This team, no one a part of this team was a part of that.
Right.
No one. Just Reed Ferguson, I think, and Jerry Hughes. Those are the only two guys, and that was near the end. That was near the end of the drought. So you got to get that out of your head. It's a completely different team, completely different mindset. Don't you forget it.
Yeah, I mean, and the PTSD of Bill's regime past is always tough to shake, right?
It is tough.
But if there is I do trust the coaching staff to be able to rebound from this and learn.
Yeah.
However, I think there's some mounting injuries and there's serious concerns about the depth. And the Bills have money to spend, so don't think that they don't. The question is, are the Bills going to look at giving up draft capital next year to address their shortcomings now?
I would.
And, well, I mean, I know you would, but does Bean qualify that? Because Bean's been in the business of acquiring picks, not giving them away.
Yeah, but when there's very, very few teams to look at and prospects to look at for next year, guys that are on the shelf than are playing in college football, I would rather go with a known commodity than someone who's unknown. I mean, Paul, we talked about this during the summer, and unfortunately it never made it to an episode, I don't believe. But we'll tell you guys now. Because of what's been going on in the pandemic and everything that's been going on, do you think that Bean pulled the trigger to sign Dawkins because of, A, the free agent tackles that are going to be available next year, and, I mean, during the summer when they signed him, there was going to be no college football played.
Right.
So you weren't able to evaluate anybody. So they probably did that trying to say, okay, we're in a rock and a hard place now. I mean, we got a guy that could be our franchise left tackle or not, but we'd rather go with someone we know than someone we don't. I would trade draft picks for known commodities now, but I don't think it's.
But where? Like, if you had to highlight, okay, here I'll give you an example. Right.
Okay.
Your second round pick next year, you're gonna trade it.
Okay.
You need to trade your second round pick. What are the two positions, areas of need that you think that second round pick will plug and solve for? Not necessarily who, but what positions are you targeting with trading away that second round pick? Because let's be real, right? The Bills are not going to trade a first round pick to anybody at this point in the game. They're going to start looking at second, third, fourth round picks as maybe something they could do. Moving contracts is going to be a little tough for everybody because not a lot of teams are going to want to take on contracts. That's why you saw Bell released, because nobody wanted to take that contract.
Also being 4-1 right now. If they were 0-5, it'd be a different story trading their first round pick. They might be able to get a better commodity because of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
The fact that they're 4-1, you think it's going to be down the draft board a little bit more. But you want to talk about somebody that may be looking for a quarterback next year. You know, like Indy. Yep. Indy would like to have multiple picks to move up for Lawrence.
Right, but what are you going to acquire? Like, what position do you think you got one bullet in the gun? What's the position you're aiming at?
The bullet in the gun is I keep all my draft picks and I sign Earl Thomas.
Oh man, keep me away from Earl Thomas.
I know. We've talked about this, but the thing is, though, I don't think you need to hit a panic button. I think Earl Thomas would be your Swiss Army knife on that defense for whoever went down. I really think he would. And I really think that he's a guy that would. I don't think tonight, of all nights, when you're getting punched in the mouth by the Tennessee Titans, he would have been quiet on that sideline. And that sideline looked really quiet. So, in my opinion, you always run the risk of taking guys like that. I mean, Earl Thomas, he's not in the twilight of his career. He's still got some good years left in him. He may want another ring. He may think that Leslie Frazier can get him that one, or Sean McDermott can get him that one. So, I mean, a common phrase that you use, I'd kick the tires on Earl Thomas, see where his head's at.
You're not going to like the name, but I'm seeing a lot of people put in Marcel Darius is available.
And he will remain available.
Breaking tables. If you can't pressure or sack the QB, then you will be in trouble all season. Trent Murphy signing was Bean's biggest mistake. Time to get an edge rusher. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, right? Where Trent Murphy has a role to play. The question is that role important anymore? Right? Is his role as, not letting guys get that outside, is that role important anymore? Here's the reason why I asked that, right? You do want that edge to come and funnel everything inside. We've talked about that already. Yeah. But you have hyper athletic linebackers who really are not minding their blowing off their assignments right now. Right? They're not concerned about their assignments. Yeah. So, do you think Trent Murphy at a 45% snap count is actually a detriment to your team? Do you think you actually need to generate pressure? Do you think the theory has to change now? Because it's been weeks of this,
Well,
right?
I mean, if you don't have Trey White in the lineup, you can't play man. You can't play man. I'll say this.
I'm sorry. You have a multiple Pro Bowler back there with Josh Norman. I don't agree with you.
No?
No, I don't agree with you. I think Cam Lewis makes you not play man. I don't think that's because I don't think you can put that on Norman.
Paul, can I ask you a question? Here's my initial thought about that question about Trent Murphy. Here's my initial question. Did you ever buy anything for your son, and then you bring it home, and your wife questions the purchase?
Yeah, pretty much everything I bought off a Wish.
Well, my point being
Pretty
is
simple.
This. To put... Because you said Brandon Beane's worst signing is Trent Murphy. Well, you know and I know that the Trent Murphy mold is the guy that McDermott always had in his defenses. Not necessarily Frazier. Frazier had one or two of those guys before. But it's mostly a McDermott thing.
Right.
So, getting back to my analogy, it was Beane signing Murphy was, hey, McDermott wanted him. It wasn't my fault. He wanted it. He was in the store. He grabbed it off the shelf, and he wanted it, so I got him for him. So I think that's more of a McDermott thing than a Beane thing. So, but I understand the point that you're trying to make. That was, I think, re-signing Hauschka was the biggest mistake he made.
That's debate. Yeah, I think that. Yeah,
the gas leak is there again.
Yeah.
Yeah, where was Ciaran Neal tonight? I wonder where that was.
I didn't see him. I didn't see him at all. He was active, I think.
Yeah,
I thought I saw him active, but I didn't.
There must have been
anywhere.
some things, but honestly, I think this defense right now, without Trey in the lineup, I think you're a zone defense. That's what I think you are. You want to talk about guys that can play over the top, but Poyer is best at playing in the box and playing up on the line. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying.
That's what she said.
I didn't say it. Poyer plays better when he's sniffing around the box. Point being is this: but in order to do that, you do have to play man. And
what about AJ? Wait. You're telling me AJ Klein is not a worse signing? Because I see Apex puts in there AJ Klein was a horrible signing. I mean,
he's not. Yeah, that's a great point actually. That was another kid. That was another toy for the kid. I mean, he played for McDermott.
It's another McDermott special, right?
That's McDermott special.
That's another McDermott special. And here's the thing, right? We're getting diminishing returns from former Panther players at this point. It was great, and it was a nice, cool thing to have, the last couple of years. But their experience with these veterans now, we're getting diminishing returns from it.
Yeah, because they're older. I mean, the well of Carolina has run dry. Can we just put that to bed right now? I mean,
yeah, it really. I agree. I think it has.
And you said that earlier, and I appreciate you telling me that, Paul. But it's the well's over, so we're not going to be referencing any more Carolina players after this year.
Yeah, I think you got to be done with that. I think you just have to be done.
Yeah, Williams has been pretty good. I mean, Starr, you can have your varying opinions on Starr. That's fine. You can have your varying opinions on him. But I mean. You want to talk? You got to take the good with the bad with this Bills team. I mean, you want to say Trent Murphy was a bad signing, but they took two guys off the scrap heap and Hyde and Poyer and put them together, and they're an all-star tandem. So you could say what you want about some of those guys. I mean, their evaluation of defensive backs, and Hyde was playing corner in Green Bay, and Poyer was wasting away in Cleveland. So I mean, you got to take the good with the bad. I think they've had more good, obviously. There's a team that has won 10 games last year, made the playoffs, and they're 4-1 at this point. I just don't want everybody hitting the panic button. And I know as passionate Bills fans, that's like telling your wife to relax. But
that never works.
Nope.
Don't do it.
Nope.
Never works.
No, and I understand
never
that.
works.
Me telling a Bills fan not to hit the panic button, I understand that. However, I don't think drastic measures have to be made. I think they just need to simplify what they're doing. They're trying to do too much. They're trying to overcompensate. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say just do your job. I'm not going to do it. Nope. I'm not going to say just do your job. But if they could take care of their assignments that they're given, this team could stop teams and they could score points. They didn't do it tonight.
Nope.
Everybody was trying to do too much. Allen included. Singletary. Diggs, Beasley, Davis, Dawkins, freaking Knox. Ugh. What's for Mario? I would have taken Chin over AJ. You bet you're sweet. You know what? You would have taken Chin over AJ.
Yeah, you would have.
Imagine Chin on this defense right now. Oh. Jeremy Chin. Where have you gone?
I know you love that Jeremy Chin.
I did like Jeremy Chin. Who's the other maniac? From Lenore Ryan. I can't remember. Someone tell me who the other guy that I wanted to.
Lenore
it was between
Ryan.
Chin and someone else. He went to the Patriots.
He did. Let me ask you this, right? Now,
Duggar.
That's it. Thanks, Gary. He's so clutch. He's so clutch.
There we go. You
guys are so clutch.
Who needs Google when we have the nation?
That's right. So at some point, don't you have to look at Dane Jackson at corner? Don't you have to? The guy can play man. You're without Trey, but Dane Jackson plays man all right.
I'm leaving.
What?
I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
Listen. At what point?
This is what I do, Nation. I periodically get up and walk away from Paul because he never has me on the screen on his computer.
I do. I see you.
Yo, I'm leaving too, MP. He goes, no, but I understand. Now, Paul was very adamant about Dane Jackson, the 7th round pick out of Pittsburgh. He was very physical. He plays up on the line. He played in press man a lot. He's the guy that something's going on between him and Lewis. Why Lewis was tapped instead of him. There's a reason why he was tapped. Because you could put Lewis back on the practice squad and no one's going to touch him. I think if Jackson comes up and plays like he can play, like you think he can play,
people are going to see.
People are going to see it. And now you got to get rid of somebody else.
That's possible. Yeah, that's possible.
So is he this year's for you? Is he this year's version of Duke Williams, where everyone wants him? Well, you want him to play, but then when he does play, everyone's going to see him.
Oh man, you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I absolutely would have taken Duke Williams as active tonight. Absolutely would have taken Duke Williams as active, and here's why. Hear me out.
He ran a 4.7, dude. Come on.
We got a 5-wide set of Isaiah McKenzie, Andre Roberts, Diggs, Beasley, and it doesn't matter. And and Davis, right?
Oh yeah, Davis.
So
Davis.
That's your 5-wide set. And I saw Roberts and McKenzie on the field together a few times. I'm not okay with that. I understand that Roberts is there to be your deep threat. Big finger quotes, your deep threat. Let's stop fooling everybody. Literally, you don't have to cover him, right? Let's stop fooling everybody. You're not throwing it deep to Andre Roberts.
Paul, are we being hypocrites tonight?
Why?
Because I'm seeing a lot of things going on in the chat.
Like what?
And things that are just reminding me of stuff. So, because we're talking about Teron Johnson. Now, do you think Teron Johnson's a good slot corner?
I think Teron Johnson is a good slot corner on undersized receivers.
So on Beasley.
I think Teron Johnson can play physical with slot corners who are undersized.
Because
he gets dirty in the run game. But
does.
you cannot ask him to get dirty against Henry. Like, that's just not going to happen.
That's a business decision.
Yeah, nope. Don't like that.
No, he didn't play well tonight. But here's my deal.
He didn't.
Here's the deal. Here's what I'm trying to get at. We talk about Johnson. Maybe we talk about Edmonds. We talk about the defensive line not playing well. We talk about the linebacking core. Klein not showing up. Edmonds is kind of the secondary. A lot of third down and longs. Mm-hmm. When these problems happen on the offense, we happen to point to the offensive coordinator as far as scheme goes. Mm-hmm. Do you think that we've just been giving Leslie Frazier a pass?
I think that some of the downfalls of this team are not specifically Leslie Frazier, but the depth that has been given to him. I don't put that on Bean. I actually put that on McDermott. So I think there's some depth issues here that you really have to look at. And I'm going to throw out 2 names, and you tell me if you would sign them right now. I'm gonna sign 2 guys to fix this defense right now. Are you ready?
Real quick,
Here we go.
Before we get to that, I'm sorry, Paul. Before we get to that, Breaking Tables comes in once again. Said it seemed like the moment the team stepped off the field, they were ready to go home. Was the COVID thing on the team's mind? Trey's mysterious back injury. Well, Trey's been battling a back injury, but he has some personal ties to C19, so we have to remember that. But bring on your scenario of 2 guys that you think would help.
I'm signing Michael Bennett. He's 34.
Is he still playing?
He's unsigned right now.
He's at home.
Yeah, he's at home.
Okay.
Don't care.
So you want the guy that wears the lacrosse pads?
All I want, yep, that's it. I want him to be able to get to the. I want somebody to get to the quarterback. I know Michael Bennett can still do
Michael Bennett's core.
Next.
He is nasty, Apex. I will agree.
Next, and this is one that you're gonna love.
Oh boy.
Does fall into the former Panther thing though.
I don't like a lot of guys, which is going to be interesting. Let's see who this is.
Eric Reed.
Oh, former Niner too.
Former Niner, former Panther.
He's just ugly. He wants to throw his whole body into everybody.
I know, right?
Kirk, I don't think Bennett's available. I'm not sure. I'll have to see. But then again, Ryan Khalil got signed last year, so everything's possible.
So give me the yay or nay here,
Reed.
Right? So you're
Is there
looking
another
at Eric...
guy? Is there another former Panther?
It is, yeah, former Panther.
All right.
Yeah.
I love how Trek Reviewer, and I absolutely love, real quick, he always comes in with draft stuff, no matter when the show is.
Yep.
I love you, Trek. Lack of depth at linebacker, would you consider trading our second pick for Jalen Smith to Dallas? I don't know.
Dallas isn't moving.
Yeah.
Dallas isn't moving off.
I mean, they may have to move up for a quarterback now, so you never know. So, all right, going Eric Reed or Michael Bennett. Now, this is the chicken or the egg argument that people have all the time to say, well, are interceptions caused by the defensive line or are they caused by the secondary? So, do you want to have more of a pass rush when the run seems to be stable? I mean, you've held Jacobs and Henry to 58 and 57 yards in back-to-back weeks. People would think that's a pretty good defense. So, but the pass defense is a little tough. So, Reed's more of a banger, though. Reed's not a coverage guy.
No, I'm not asking him to cover.
What are you asking him to do? Take souls?
Yeah, I'm asking him. Because I want Poyer. Poyer being required to be in the linebacking group I'm tired of that. Right?
Who in that
I'm really
linebacker
tired
group?
of that.
You're tired of
I'm tired of asking Poyer to come down so much. Right? I'm really tired of it. It's a nice look every now and again, but it is not something that I need in constant rotation. Right? I'm really frustrated with AJ Klein. I'm really concerned about the health of Matt Milano. Tremaine Edmonds does not look healthy to me. So I need somebody out there who is just going to absolutely destroy anything he can get within a 5-foot radius of. And Eric Reed's that guy that fixes it.
Earl Thomas.
Not Earl Thomas.
He will. And you won't have to give up any picks. Oh, no, but those guys are free agents, too. I love the chat right now, by the way. These guys are hysterical. We got Marcel Darius for 1 year. Rock Pile Report retweeted that we have the most expensive defensive line in the league. Depressing.
True.
MP comes
Very
in.
true.
MP also came in again. Eric Reed comes in to be the Witcher. That is amazing. My name is Earl. Reed and Thomas, please. Fire sale in Houston and Atlanta. Who would you pluck off of those?
In Atlanta?
Yeah. Is your boy in Houston?
My boy.
Is your boy in
I've
Houston?
got a lot of boys.
Aaron Colvin.
Aaron Colvin? Yeah, I knew that was coming.
He's a good slot corner. He's a very good slot corner.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the direction we're going, right? I mean, is Jermaine Johnson is he really your problem now?
Dan Mitchell, I'm so sad. I want Josh Jackson from Green Bay. Ooh, Apex, nice. A team that's 4-0 in Green Bay, they're not getting rid of anybody right now.
Nope. That's what I mean. I think you got to get a little creative here.
I'd buy Darius a new captain's hat at this point. John McCall. But yeah, it's that's the thing. I'm not hitting the panic button, but you do have to do something. As far as this defense is concerned, now chicken or the egg? Do you want to fix the defensive line? Do you want to fix second level? Do you want to fix the cornerbacks? Because you got to do something. Norman is not the guy across from Trey now.
Right.
Okay? Because you got to put Hyde over him. Mm-hmm. Just taking 2 guys out for 1. That's
right.
That could get figured out really quick. Teron Johnson, a nasty, rugged turf monster who's gonna come up on the run, has trouble in the pass. The Buffalo Bills overall, though, I mean, if you want to think back to the LA game, you want to think back to the Raiders game, it just seems like they've been playing really undisciplined football.
You know what? But Mar, I think you got to look at it like you just even mentioned it. You know, the slot in slot right now, right? You take a look at who we have on this team, and you're right. We really struggle for slot corners who can cover, but that we were able to absorb that because you had Milano in the back end, covering up a lot of that, or you had a nickel linebacker who ultimately was, Marlowe or, somebody who's a little bit more experienced in coverage. So you can cover up some of that stuff on the back end. The truth of the matter is it's not there right now. Like Tremaine Edmonds looks really bad. Like he looks really bad. And I don't know if it's health. I don't know if if they gave him more responsibility and he's missing a lot of checks. I don't know what it is, but it looks undisciplined and it looks sloppy as hell.
I told you, and you don't even know this, Paul. When you're hurt or you're injured, it messes with your head. You can't think clearly on everything else because you're compensating for other stuff. You're telling me you got to come into a game with a bad shoulder and you got to try to tackle Derrick Henry? You don't think it's going to be in somebody's head?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you serious here? But I think he's hurt. I really think he's hurt. I mean, and he played. So I think he lost the coin toss between him and Milano. I think they were like, listen, which one of you guys is playing? We need one of you on the field. And I think he lost the coin toss.
I mean,
Milano's showing his value. Robert Morlock. Milano's showing his value.
Woo, Dan Mitchell. Love you, fools.
Look at Dan Mitchell. He's making it rain in here.
We love you too, Dan.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you, man.
I am...
Danny got that $10 from his OnlyFans account.
Oh, God.
I'm done. I'm kidding, Dan.
Well, he saved all that money buying those glasses. I kid. I kid because I love.
He's going to kill me next week. I swear the round table is going to kill. From dividends from Plenty of Fish. But you can't put. I don't know if I put Tremaine on IR.
Well, I think that Dave brings up an interesting
valid point,
right?
Yeah.
But who can you afford to lose? Right?
You can't afford to lose him.
Well, look at what you're going against, right? Look at the next 3 weeks. Can you afford to put any linebacker on IR? No. You can't afford to put a single one of them on IR. You can't.
Call up Kuechly.
Stop. We just talked about the Panthers are washed up, and now you're on this hill talking about Luke Kuechly. Get out of here.
You know what, Paul? I have to find something to amuse myself and laugh at after this loss.
Oh, my God.
I can't. I'm just joking around. That's the last time I'll mention the name, believe me.
That's it.
I apologize.
Go give me Deion Buchanan.
You love that is. Oh my God! Did you
give
really
me Deion Buchanan?
Did you really just pepper the chat?
He's on the practice squad for the Falcons. They suck nuts. You can tell me Deion Buchanan wouldn't come to Buffalo if you called him tomorrow.
How does Deion Buchanan have practice squad eligibility? Is he one of the vets?
Yeah, he's one. Yeah, it's with the expanded practice squad eligibility. His base salary is $36,000.
Who do you sit?
Who cares?
Who do you sit when you sign him? That's important.
Who cares? Put somebody on IR. You're just renting him. You're just renting him. Put somebody on IR for 3 weeks. Who cares?
Renting a player.
Just renting it for a few weeks.
What is this like?
Be done with it.
Is this like hockey? Like they're going to sign a guy at the All-Star break for the rest of the year and then not re-sign him? Ricardo, Dan Mitchell looks like a bully from Napoleon Dynamite. Dude, why is he getting roasted? Is Kiko Alonso available? This chat is disintegrated.
What I miss is Kiko Alonso available?
No, he's modeling in Europe for Ken dolls. Kiko the legend.
They might still have some Kiko jerseys in the junior section at TJ Maxx.
Seriously, if the Bills brought back Kiko, you need a coverage linebacker. They brought back Kiko and Darius. I think my head would explode.
Please no.
Aaron Maben. This is the best ever.
Nick
Jason
Elm's
Seymour
performance.
able to walk. I'm absolutely finished with these guys. Oh my god, that's amazing.
So, let's talk about Epinesa for a second, right?
Not.
I think it's important.
I think you're right.
5 games in, right? He hasn't been active for all of them, so we're a few games in on Epinesa. I think a lot of people were expecting a lot from him. Just because he was the Bills' first pick doesn't mean that he was their first choice, right? Obviously, they didn't have a first round pick. That was Stephon Diggs. So Epinesa, do you think this was the right move for Buffalo? Because Jerry's getting older. You signed a 64-year-old Mario Addison, right? Like you knew the depth at defensive end was old. You're rolling in with youth being Daryl Johnson and Epinesa this time. Do you think that was the right move? Did they adequately address their need for defensive end with Epinesa?
At the time, you thought it was
right
because you know how this team. You know how this team is always predicated on getting themselves insurance policies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to have Trent Murphy pass this year. Why not get a guy in the fold now to learn the defense and the nuances of the defense so he can be a 4-year starter at defensive end so you don't have to spend money at that position? I think that was their thought process. Move Epinesa to linebacker. He runs a slower 40 than me.
Oh, my God.
You do not want him at linebacker.
No
What's
way.
Voshon Joseph doing these days, John McCall?
I will be honest with you. I heard McDermott's interview about Voshon post his release, and he sounded done with Voshon.
Yeah.
Like, done. So I do not imagine that they would bring him in. Even though he is unsigned right now. He sounded done with Voshon.
Yeah.
And the fact that a guy that athletic is still unemployed, I think says it all.
And the fact that because of the track record of being a McDermott, now this is where it resonates for the rest of the league. It's not so much that he is. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's supposed to play in the secondary that gets drafted. By being a McDermott, and you have Frazier and McDermott on your team as the cornerback secondary whisperers, and they can't work with you. That sends a message to the rest of the league. You know what I mean? Like we used to say it all the time when Belichick lets a player go, you do not touch him. No, if he's willing to let the guy go, he knows he already maximized what that guy's capable of. Google Drew Bledsoe, okay, guys, and that hurt.
I know that one bothers you still.
Hurts. But I gotta admit it now.
I know.
Cameron Wake, is he still under 40? Cameron Wake is out there. He is definitely a free agent. Ali Akbar, Dable stinks. We haven't really beat him up too much tonight, Ali. We haven't really.
Adolphus Washington, stop it. Tanner Vallejo, Ramon
Humber was brought up. I almost died.
Tanner Vallejo is like if you're thirsty and someone tosses you a natty ice, you're like, what's this for? Like, what is...
Are you kidding me? No, it's if you're thirsty, someone tosses you a bag of sand.
That's probably better.
Don't mind if I drink this. I love the memory lane that we're going down with all these players.
Mookie
is pissed. Preston Brown, yeah. I don't know about the retread. So I was trying to put a cap on this. I don't know about the retreads, but here's what I'm going to say to the nation. I don't. Greg Lloyd for receiver help. I can't. I gotta stop looking at the chat because I'm getting distracted. I just don't think it's that time to hit the panic button. Now, if the Buffalo Bills start off 4-0, now they're 4-3 at some point, and the defense is still struggling like they are now. I understand that. I understand to make that. Okay, we got the panic button. We have to do something. We have to try to energize this defense or this offense or whatever we have to do, and I understand that. But you just lost a horrible game. There's a lot of teams that lose horrible games. The 0-3 Pats lost the opening day game, I think it was 0-3, to the Buffalo Bills 31-0. And they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. I think they beat the Bills in the last game of the year 31-0. So I think it was the 0-3 Pats. But there are these games that may happen. You just hope that it's a wake-up call for the rest of the team, and they're like, listen, okay, we can't go out the way that we've been going out. We have to actually work for this to actually happen. For us to make the playoffs, for us to make a run in the playoffs, for us to be a championship caliber team, we have to work. When we get down like this, we can't stay down. Hopefully, there were some things said on that sideline that who's the fiery leader over there? Like, I could see Poyer jacking guys up and being like, "Oh, come on, let's go." I can see him being the voice if that team happens to get down. I could see Diggs on the offensive side being that guy to do that. Because Milano, because Edmonds and Allen are the leaders. They're not really. They're the guys that have to remain level-headed on both of those sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. So you need the other guy you need one other guy to be a lunatic on that defense and that offense. That could be Diggs and Poyer at this point. They better get in to their teammates and say, "Listen, this can't happen anymore. No, this is done. We're done with this. Okay, we're not going to lose like that again. This happened early in the year. We don't have to worry about undefeated talk if we happen to run the table. You know what I mean? So." I'm not like if you had to tell me a scale of 1 to 10 how worried I am about this team now. At 4-1, 2-0 in the division, I'm about a 5. I'm about a 4 or 5. I'm not that worried.
I'm like a hard 6.5. This was the book that you didn't want anybody to see a page out of. You know what I mean?
Wait, is this? Sorry, Paul. We're an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, I got to remember that because that soundbite is going in every episode from now on.
Well, I'm a hard 6.5. Level of concern, I'm a hard 6.5. And the reason is because the offense just didn't look like they had any traction at all. Yes. And you can say that for a variety of reasons. You know, the fact that they really didn't know who they were going to play. The fact of the matter is these are professionals, right? Yes. And they knew early enough in the process of preparing for. It's not like they were getting on a plane and they didn't know that they were going to Tennessee today, right? Like there was enough of a lead in to at least be able to prepare yourself. My question is, can this secondary hold up against the Chiefs offense? Because sure, we could deal with the Tennessee loss now and say, listen, the sky isn't falling, but next week, I think we're looking at something completely different. And if we were resting Tennessee because we were worried about the Chiefs, I think you take any AFC game that you can win.
Yes,
that's it. You don't take a game off. If you're ever going to punt a game, punt it against an NFC team. Yes. Never take an AFC game off. You need every conference win that you can get. And, you know, I'm very curious to see what we're going to be talking about at the end of the Chiefs game on Monday, because, you know, you may be saying the sky isn't falling now, but if the Bills don't get healthy in just a matter of a few days, it might be a different song that you're singing. So I'm super curious about the tryouts they have tomorrow. Normally today would have been tryout day. You know, Monday's tryout day, Tuesday our tryout day. I'm really curious to see who they bring in to try out, because like Alec Ogletree, there's a guy, you know, Ogletree's healthy, right? So he just got cut by the Jets. You know, Ogletree's a guy. I'm curious what positions they're bringing in, because they already tried out Tremaine Johnson. So they already knew that they were short in corners a few weeks ago, but that didn't work out. I'm just so curious where they go.
I'm about to start crying for two reasons. Number one, Apex said, you're right, the Chiefs are 100 times better than the Titans on offense. I think they're 100% different. Not 100 times better. I think they're 100 times different. Mm-hmm. But Tony B comes in. Josh Norman on Hill, Cam Lewis on Watkins, and Teron Johnson on Kelsey. Smells like victory.
Oh, God.
I just got a pit in my stomach thinking about those matchups. Can we get 100 put on our heads? No, they're not going to do 100. Yeah, all the drops today, Kyle. It was awful. Le'Veon Bell, we need a running back. I don't know if the running back's going to solve the problem.
I don't know if Allen was doing his receivers any favors. You go back and look at some of those drops. Those were not softly thrown passes.
No.
They were bullets, you know. And that's what happens when he presses, you know. But I will be honest with you. I saw a lot of late reads again today, you know. Like
you did too, huh?
Late.
Yep.
He was late. Late.
Well, it's kind of hard to find 3 receivers in a pattern when they're dropping 8. Whose fault is that? I'm gonna leave it at that.
If they're dropping 8, Allen. Okay. Oh, hold on. Quick counter. Maybe this is an episode. Yeah, they're dropping 8 into coverage. Allen last year runs for 4.
Yeah.
Yes? No.
Yes.
Yes.
He does. Yeah, he does.
What are we doing? What
His
are we doing?
shoulder's
talking
banged
about
up, dude. You think he wants to run? He
I
threw
don't
the
know.
ball away today.
I'm just saying. It's Allen last
Put
year
Diggs at
runs.
corner.
Allen this year, he throws 40 pass attempts. You
Yeah.
know, like I health aside, it's a very different theory that we're seeing applied by our quarterback, and you know, sometimes it seems effective and sometimes it's scary. And today, having Allen be able to run the football would have been very helpful. Very helpful.
It would have. But I think what happened, I don't know if it was a spy, but it always seemed like if Allen stepped up in the pocket or moved, there was a guy that wasn't rushing completely.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They spied him out.
Where you going?
Yeah, they spied him out.
So, I mean, the goal of that, they could have been like, yo, we're dropping.
Run shallow.
We're dropping 7. We're dropping 7. Just get a good enough push to keep him in the pocket. Don't lose your gap integrity.
Mm.
Try to push the pocket. Just don't get thrown off and give him lanes to run through. And they didn't give him lanes to run through.
Run a shallow crosser, Mar, and you pull that guy sitting in the middle. You
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
He didn't realize that until there was 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Valid.
Like movies about gladiators.
Valid.
It was a very valid point. So, ladies and germs, Paul, we're about $1.15 into this, and have we fixed anything tonight?
I don't know, Mar. I don't know.
I just want to the nation, because you're going to go and you're going to hear and watch a bunch of other, post game shows and how to fix this and how to fix that. I just don't want everybody, and I'm going to say it again, I don't want anybody hitting the panic button about this team. 4-1 after 5 games is something a lot of Bills fans would have taken at this point. And
yeah,
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about this team until there's something to worry about. And I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think this team was flat. They weren't focused. They have a bunch of injuries. They had a bunch of things working against them, against the team that went to the AFC Championship game last year. And a team that has been just kind of, playing a few teams here and there. You know what I mean? I know the records of the teams they played prior to the Bills have been awful, but they had 2 weeks to prepare for the Bills. And they had a chip on their shoulder from last year, or the last couple of years against Allen, when they got, beat in their own place, and then they got beat in Buffalo by a rookie, Josh Allen. So, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the effort was sad, Daniel. The effort was definitely sad.
You can't. And truth is, you can't give the ball up in your own territory.
No, God no, God no. Paul and I are going to be doing something on our post game shows, but unfortunately it's only going to happen after wins. So for tonight, we're not going to have one of those. Obviously, we're going to have our customary bets that go on. Paul, we're going to have our bets, but it has to happen after the Bills win. So
I'm fine with that.
That's fine with us. So those of you that decided to join our post game show tonight, we'd like to thank you for devoting your time close to the midnight hour, burning that midnight oil. Hashtag Heroes, thank you very much for your donations as far as the Punt Foundation goes. Tonight's episode was sponsored by Everlast, who just gets the ever-living beat out of them. So if you're new here and you want to subscribe to all of Hashtag Sports material, you want to turn that red subscribe button gray. For Paul, I'm Mario. We're Hashtag Sports. You guys are Hashtag Nation. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.